G'day everybody, where's Wally here? Well, today this is going to be a super easy one to me. I was listening to Nathan Oakley and his Fed crew, and they were talking about the ISS, and of course that piqued my interest. What I'm going to do is just play the next couple of minutes of them chatting away and going full cognitive dissonance. Now, this is really funny. These poor guys, they just don't have a clue, and they don't want to know either. I wonder why. And in the background here, I'll just play excerpts from my most excellent video of the ISS, the flat earth killer of choice. Thanks, guys.
Don't tell them to go along with the fantasy and enjoy the fantasy for what it is. Actually tell them it's real. And, yeah, it's just a masking of an absurd notion when it comes to the ISS, that this tin can's floating around in a sky vacuum in a presupposed orbital motion. But actually it's Santa.
I mean, physically there's something up there. Is there people in it? Who knows? How high it is, how fast it goes, I don't know. It adds up to the observations and the transits on the moon, but it can be recorded, it can be documented, so it's something up there. What it is, that's what we don't know.
All you've got to go on is their story about it, and for me it's much easier cognitively because it's no different to any other light in the sky. So, for instance, David Icke talks about the moon being like a container for entities to live in, like a space orbiting ship almost, right? Now, when David Icke describes that, most people who are on the outside of David Icke and don't take him seriously will just snigger. What an absurd notion. But all he's doing is the exact same thing that NASA do with the ISS. The fact that they've got a whole backstory to go along with it is irrelevant. It's just another light in the sky. Now, their elaborate backstory for that particular light in the sky, I think, is necessary because that particular light in the sky doesn't match any of the other motions. So you've got to give it a backstory, because otherwise people would start asking questions. So hence it's got a backstory. It doesn't surprise me, but so have all the other lights. Equally as absurd.
But this light in the sky was start being seen in the mid-80s, late 80s, when it started getting launched up there. That's when that light in the sky started to be observed, when it started getting launched up the space. Sorry, I'm going to have a hot mic for a few minutes.
I don't know if that's true. So, you know, some of the symbology from the Masonic lodges shows that they've got that shape, the basic shape of the ISS, on their hats. And you're like, what is it with this weird double cross with extra edges on it that they've got on their hats? Why would they have that? Now, I don't know about Masonic Freemasonry, but I know when I see an image, I'm like, that reminds me of the ISS. Now, for all I know, consumer level optics improved in the 80s to the point where people could start seeing this stuff where they couldn't before. And then it needs a justification. Whereas up until then, maybe they're studying it, but no one's aware of it. No one's looking at it and tracking it. So, who cares? Now, I've said this before. Back in the day, my folks lived in a part of the country that had the least light pollution in the whole country. So they had a hot tub, you could turn all the lights off and just watch the sky. And over time, your eyes would adjust, and you'd see more and more and more. It would seem deeper and deeper, like you were looking, I'm going to use these words, deeper into space. Yeah? That's how it is perceived as your light levels are adjusted for in your eyeballs over time, as you relax. But also, lots of stuff's flying around up there, moving around in random directions, changing directions. All sorts of crazy stuff is going on. Now, I remember Mark Sargent several years ago describing exactly this, but with IR goggles. Yeah? So he puts on the night vision stuff with a decent zoom, looks up at the sky, and starts describing what I had seen with my naked eye, but in an area of very, very, very low light pollution. So no street lights for miles and miles and miles around. No towns for miles around. Just the middle of nowhere. If it was no moon, you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. That's how dark it was. But that meant that you got an exceptionally good view of the night sky. And as I say, all sorts of stuff's going on up there. But most people just don't notice. And if they do, they don't care. They don't give it a second thought. They might go, I wonder what that is, and then get on with their day. Right? Now, for the ISS, it's a different story. It's fairly intense light, and it's cyclical and regular. Well, that's the kind of thing that people will definitely notice after a time, and they'll start asking questions if there isn't a pre-packaged explanation. Most of heliocentrism is only designed so we haven't got any questions to ask anymore. It's all been answered already. Here's a nice pre-packaged answer for you in the heliocentric model. It's very eloquent, pretty much works. On you go with your day. Don't ask questions. Well, the same is said for the ISS, in my opinion. It's just another light in the sky, but if you haven't got a prerequisite understanding that you've got a heliocentric world and orbital motion, if you haven't got that, it's suddenly not a problem. It's just an unexplained light in the sky, like lots of other lights in the sky that I could say are unexplained in terms of what I've seen them do.
Is there a light? Can light have a shape like the ISS does?
That light has got a shape.
Light in the sky.
Well, it has, hasn't it? If you've seen reasonably good imagery of it, you can see that it's got a kind of discernible shape. I tell you an interesting story. Anthony Riley took a picture, or had a picture, or acquired a picture of the ISS, and with its vague shape, and said there's no way anyone can match up this vague shape to what the ISS actually is. So he put it to Red's rhetoric, and that's precisely what he did. He said, at this angle, this is what the ISS would be doing to give you that kind of blurred image, and it matched. You're like, yeah. When he told me, I was like, yeah, shocking. Of course, that's the whole point. It's to justify the light. So not matching would be the worst possible scenario. So they've got to have it matching. But, you know, like I say, that vague blur of a light to Anthony was like, oh, well, that'll never match up with what the ISS is claimed to look like. Well, yeah, it will. But does that make it the tin can they claim the ISS is? No, absolutely not. Why? Well, because it's claimed to be orbiting. I can debunk that. It's claimed to be in a sky vacuum. I can debunk that. So it isn't orbiting in a sky vacuum. That's what they claim the tin can that the ISS is. So it isn't. Simple.
That's correct, Nathan.
But he didn't even try. Last point. He didn't even try to match, to tweak and manipulate his zoom in and focal length and none of that to get the image to look like what we are told the ISS is, because lots of random people take footage and videos, not being photographers and experts. They just take a quick video, zoom in, and oh, there it is, the ISS, and it looks like we are told it looks.
And
you don't have to tweak it to make it look like the ISS.
That's fine if you ignore what I've just said, which is to say what we are told is it's got a certain shape that you're saying matches. We're also told it has orbital motion and is in a sky vacuum. So no, what they say isn't what it is.
Yeah, he missed all that, Nathan.
Well, in astrology and astronomy, but astrology more so, because it's, in my opinion, more precise than astronomy, there is things that turn up in the sky every 70, 120 years, all this kind of stuff. There's things that just turn up, they're on cycles. And they could be there for a while and then they disappear. There's all kinds of mad stuff in astrology. So if you know astrology well enough, you will know that there's things that turn up in the sky that may not have been seen in the sky for 60 years. So I don't know what the hell the thing is. I've personally not seen it. I know other people have seen it. I've personally not seen it. But I don't know what the rest of the lights are either.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's just a light. It's exactly as you'd expect it to be. So there's nothing special about seeing it, in my opinion. It's comparable to any other light in the sky that has a really weird shape if you zoom in on it. So do a lot of the stars. And I'm not talking about people who don't know how to operate their cameras either.
Well, even if it was a man-made thing, like even if we allow that question to ride, it's still not orbiting without a radius value to Earth.
Exactly.
And that has been debunked.
Exactly.
So it could be man-made. Who cares? It's not what they say it is.
Exactly. But you could, you can, after you find out that it's not Santa Claus on his sleigh, you can go back to the exact same people who lied about it and ask them what it is. Now, they're either going to give you the same ignorance, deception, forced or otherwise, or outright lies. If it's the source, it'll be an outright lie. There, my opinion, once you find out that these people are lying about certain things, don't ask them anymore. They don't know. Otherwise, they'd tell you. Or if they do know and they're not telling you, they're never going to. And they've had to, or they've saw fit to, lie for whatever reasons that they find fit. They're never going to tell you those either. Probably not even under duress. So, why bother appealing to them? All right, well, I know it's not in a sky vacuum, so what is it? Go on, spill the beans. You know what they'll give you? They'll give you another lie. If you're appealing to them, they know you've already lost because you're already appealing to them.
Isn't there the moment where we, the people interested in the topic, need to jump in and say, all right, I'm not going to believe anything that they tell me. They tell me it's this high, this fast, and there's people in it. I say it's not because of the R value and the non-vacuum of space. Then we have to figure out what it is. Or should we just sweep it under the rug and just say, just a light in the sky, I don't care, let's move on to the next topic.
Should we be
more interested in trying to figure out what it is then?
Well, you can, but that's, for me, part of the relinquished excitement that you gave up when you move sides. So not knowing what it means, you have that opportunity to ponder that, don't you? Now, refutation does not require a replacement. So to refute that it's in a sky vacuum doesn't mean I've got to explain what it is. That's not required. But you can then ponder it.
But that's the fun on it, trying to figure it out and come up with ideas on what it is.
But you can only do that if you understand implicitly that it isn't what they're telling you. Because if it is, then you don't need to ponder it, do you? But if it isn't, then you can, if you choose to, ponder that question. A reason I highlight that is because I say ponder that question if you choose to, as opposed to satisfy the demand of an opponent who says, well, you must tell me what it is. No, I don't have to do that. I can just debunk what you think it is and then walk away laughing. And knowing that it's joyful to say, I don't know what it is, but I might be the one to find out. How exciting.
Have you come up with anybody trying to find out what it is? Or just saying, I know that that is not, and I'm going to laugh at you? Are we finding people that tell us then what it is? Or you're just in the first step of denying what it is and moving on?
I'm saying it could be down to you to take the excitement for yourself, to own that excitement personally and endeavour yourself to find out. But your question is, so I don't just find the next person to appeal to who's going to tell me what it is? No. That's obviously that you haven't recognised the potential excitement that is offered by this subject upon realising you've been lied to, which is that you can embrace that excitement personally, but you following one of the other two routes, which is appealing to the original liar or finding a new guru to tell you what it is. Neither of those seem like very favourable paths to me, but I'm not you. You go look for your guru to tell you what the ISS is now. I'm sure you'll find one.
If I made a claim, Jose, about what the ISS is, right, how do I support that claim? Like, the best I can do is refute the mainstream claims. At present, there's nothing else I can do. What can you do? What claim can you make about the ISS and support it at present? You can't. You end up looking at more foolish than Go on.
Well, I can tell you what I learned via Googling around in the NASA website and all that. I can find hundreds of videos, hundreds of pictures, and a lot of people talking about it. That's the evidence I can find.
Yeah, but that doesn't tell you what it is. That tells you what they say it is.
No,
but that doesn't allow you to make a claim about it yourself.
But you asked me a question, I answered honestly. What evidence can I give you? Well, the hundreds of hours and pictures and launches that we can see the things launching. We don't know where to go, but that's evidence, at least part of the evidence.
We know that.
Connected to the ISS. That's connected
well, it's
to
just circle jerk. Hold on, Brian. All you're doing is just circling back to the beginning of the discussion, Jose. So you're saying I can present you evidence of the photos from space, but we've covered that. Once we know one aspect is a total lie in violation of natural law in this instance, you don't need to keep going and saying, yeah, but I've got a picture of them launching to Narnia. I've got video footage of them going through the wardrobe to Narnia. Once you know that Narnia is not real, you don't need to concern yourself with how the wardrobe functions or the videography of them going through the wardrobe anymore. You don't need to do that. Now, you can keep appealing to it, but that would mean you ignored the fact that we've explained calmly that we don't do that and concern ourselves with the video footage and scroll through NASA stuff. I don't look or concern myself with anything from NASA. I know they're liars, so I don't associate with them. I certainly don't proactively go after their information because they're claiming stuff's taking place in a sky vacuum. That's the end. Don't need anything else.